And so without this extra piece of evidence, this full blood work display, we didn't know if Derek was right or Paul was right. Who's telling the truth? And so let's go over the blood work and find out. Coach Greg, and it's getting good. Paul Sklar has responded to Derek for more plates, more dates on his video about the fake natty detectives. So, bit of background. Paul Sklar has been claiming to be a lifetime natural athlete. He's about 50 years of age, looks absolutely incredible. Hard to believe, shredded, mind-blowing, full of muscle. He was a former duathlon champion, was running and biking faster, way faster than Coach Greg. Unbelievable. Almost at the Olympic level. He went and stopped doing all that cardio, slowed down a little bit, and started to build muscle. And the transformation, unbelievable. And so people started saying, you ain't natural. You gotta be on testosterone, growth hormone, SARM, something. Had hundreds of requests, do a natty or not, on Paul Sklar. And guess what? I actually did one. And in the video I said, I think he's natural. Didn't have proof, didn't know for sure. But in my heart of hearts, I thought he was 100% natural. And so this all started when Paul Sklar posted his testosterone levels, said, look, my testosterone levels are in the normal range. That proves I'm natural. And Derek said, that don't prove jack. You can't just show your testosterone levels and say I'm natural because it's in the normal range. Derek is 100% right. Derek is right. You can't just say my testosterone levels are 700 nanograms per deciliter and that proves I'm natural because normal is between 300 and 800, 300 and 900, whatever. And so Derek went into detail and explained the pros and the cons of the test. Said, well, maybe you're natural, but maybe you're not natural. And look at how good you look at 50 years of age. Does that look natural? You're better built than 99% of people who are on PDs, and you're claiming to be natural. And so Derek said, we need to see all your blood work, all the values, not just your total testosterone. What about your free testosterone, biological testosterone, SHBG, LH, FSH? What is going on in your body? You might very well be on HRT. I am currently on HRT 140 milligrams a week, and if I had a blood test and showed you my test levels, I would say, hey, look, I'm natural because my test levels are below 800 nanograms per deciliter. Does that say I'm natural just because I have normal amounts of tests? Of course not. And being on HRT, of course I'm at an advantage. My testosterone levels are always at a high normal range. Whether I have a good night of sleep or not, whether I'm eating good, stressed out, I'm always going to have the proper amount of testosterone in my body. And if you're natural, not always the case, especially if dieting into single-digit body fat. Paul's shredded, full six-pack. When you're natural, you're not eating much, you're in a calorie deficit, it's harder to have normal test levels. And so after Derek's video went live, people were inundating him with messages. You're a fake natty, stop lying. Ah, we don't like you anymore. So Paul said, I'm going to take the test, post all the results, and you can then decide for yourself. Am I a fake natty or am I natural?
So today, good news. I got my blood results back.
And just so you know, full disclosure, I've talked to Paul a number of times in the DMs, a really nice guy, love talk to him, respect his work ethic, and I do in fact think he's natural. So going into this, I'm thinking he's probably going to show that he's natural. He's not an expert, he doesn't understand blood work, he's not educated in that sense, and so I don't think that he's trying to purposely manipulate the blood work to try to prove that he's not natural.
You talked about something called testosterone crashing. I don't even know really what testosterone crashing is, but apparently you said it's something about manipulating testosterone levels and bringing them down.
And so I'm caught somewhere in the middle because Derek is an expert and he knows that people can manipulate these blood work tests and show that they're natural when they're not actually natural. And so Paul's test didn't in fact prove he was natural in the slightest. All it did is show that at the time of the test, he wasn't blasting a bunch of tests. Doesn't show that he might be on Deca or Anavar, all kinds of other drugs. Perhaps he was taking SARM's growth hormone. No one actually knows. And so without this extra piece of evidence, this full blood work display, we didn't know if Derek was right or Paul was right. Who was telling the truth? And so let's go over the blood work and find out.
Those that hate will continue to hate. Those that don't will continue to support.
And you gotta admire this guy. Check out the friggin' biceps. 100% natural. Look at the biceps vein going through single-digit body fat. Of course we're going to be jealous. I'm sure Paul can understand that the average person is looking at him and thinking, this guy is 10, 20 years older than me, looks twice as good as me. It's a compliment. So I hope Paul understands that when people doubt his ability to look like this natural, that it's a compliment. And people understand that when Derek is making a video saying, hey, that doesn't prove you're natural, it's not because Derek is hating. Derek is not a hater in the slightest. I'm the hater. I'm the one that picks on people and yells and screams. Derek is just giving you his honest opinion. And so just because Derek said, hey, this doesn't prove that the guy's not natural, doesn't mean that Derek is hating on Paul. He's just giving you data, information, so that you can understand that any influencer that posts their blood work and just shows total testosterone, meaningless, doesn't show anything. But what does show something is the test we're about to show right now.
Okay, so let's start with total testosterone.
Total testosterone, 843 nanograms per deciliter. That is in the high normal. It's higher than Coach Greg. I was in the 70s, so it's very high testosterone levels. But it's not super high. It's not out of range. Remember that guy I did who was a singer from another country that we won't want to mention? He had above the normal range, higher than this. He was out of the reference range. And so it's not out of the ordinary that his test levels would be this high. Perhaps 1 in 100 would have testosterone levels like this. But look at this guy's physique. He's been an elite athlete his whole life. Is it really shocking that the guy would have high normal testosterone levels? But what about free testosterone? The testosterone that you're actually going to use. It's not just how much testosterone you have in the body. It's what is your body able to use. And so is free testosterone, the testosterone his body can actually use that's not all bound up? 10.9. 10.9, that's actually fairly low. The reference range, 9 to 30, means he's in the low normal. So although he has a lot of testosterone in his body, only a little bit of it is actually being used. And so although he has high testosterone levels, the body is not really using that much testosterone. And why? Why is this the case? Well, his SHBG, sex hormone binding globulin, it's actually very high. Not out of the ordinary high, but 74.8, reference range 19 to 76. It's high normal. So he has a lot of what binds up the testosterone and makes it unable to be used by the body. If he had lower SHBG, more of the testosterone, that 840 nanograms of deciliter, would be able to be used by the body. If he could do this, he'd probably build more muscle. But the body, it's funny. It's trying to be in homeostasis. If you have a whole shit ton of testosterone, the body says, we don't need all that, let's bind up some, and it lowers it to what it wants. If he had less testosterone, perhaps his SHBG would be lowered and more of it would be freed up. So in the end, it's not really what are your total testosterone levels, it's how much can you actually use. And prolactin, again, in the normal reference range. What about cortisol? A little bit on the high normal. Still in the normal range, but high normal. Perhaps that's impacting his SHBG. Perhaps he's a little bit stressed out. Perhaps he's on a lower calorie diet. 5 or 6% body fat, that is very low calorie intake. If he increased his body fat percentage, perhaps SHBG would be lowered and his testosterone that his body can actually use would be elevated. Perhaps because he's trying to stay so lean, it's making him harder to build muscle. Perhaps he's like Jeff Cavalier or Tristan Lee. Guys with extremely low body fat levels are going to have a harder time building muscle. Doesn't mean you can't, but perhaps it's not optimal. If you ask me, optimal range to build muscle, probably for a natural, somewhere between 10 and 20% body fat. He's saying he's 5-6% body fat. Think how low that is. Probably hard to build muscle. He's 5'8", 170. Perhaps if he raised his body fat percentage to 10%, perhaps he'd be 185 pounds of muscle. We don't know. And IGF-1, 114, right in the normal reference range. Mine's the same in the hundreds. The guy is probably not taking growth hormone or IGF-1. If he was, well, it's not working very well, now is it?
It would appear that my normal levels run somewhere around 800. Again, in a normal range. If I was taking extraneous testosterone, I would assume that they'd be higher, but again, this is not my wheel set.
And so he's saying, well, if I took exogenous testosterone, my 850 nanograms per deciliter would probably be higher. Well, the truth is it might even be lower. I'm taking exogenous testosterone, 140 milligrams a week, and I'm in the 700s. So it all depends on your dose. It's dose dependent. If you're taking 100 milligrams a week, you're probably going to be in the normal reference range. If you're taking 500, you're going to be way the heck above the normal range. And so if a bodybuilder is taking abusive doses, these are going to be through the roof. Way higher than it should be. But if you're on low doses, you could quite easily be in these normal reference ranges. Now, when I take exogenous testosterone, my SHBG goes down quite a bit lower than last time. Anavar, T-ball, different orals, these free up more testosterone. So I believe he was taking oral steroids or SARMs. You might be thinking, oh, he's just doing some orals. I believe his SHBG would be lower and his test that he can use, the free testosterone, be much higher. But it's not. It's towards the low end of normal. His testosterone, high end of normal. His free testosterone that he can use, low end of normal. To me, this indicates a guy 100% natural. I don't think he's lying. I don't think he would do that. And I do believe if he had crushed testosterone levels, I do believe he would go on HRT. I don't think he's against it. He never had anything against me. I'm talking to him in private. Hey, I'm on this and that. And he's, yeah, no problem. You need that. That's good. Do that. If I need it, probably do it too.
Looks like we're going to get into the CBC with differential, metabolic panels, lipids. Let's take a look here.
So let's look at his cholesterol. When you're on steroids or even HRT in general, what normally happens is your HDL, the good cholesterol, goes down. We can see here 61. 61 is very good. Below 35 is bad. Most people on HRT not going to have those kind of levels. So based on his cholesterol alone, I don't believe he's even on low doses of HRT. If he was, I would expect to see lower HDL levels than that. And you might be noticing, yeah, but his LDL is high. It's 116. 116 is not that high at all. Remember Jesse James and Brandon Walsh? Brandon Walsh was 280. Way higher than this. 116, it says intermediate. Optimal is below 100. 100 to 130, intermediate. He's right in the middle. He's not perfect, but he's not doing bad. He's not even in the high risk. In comparison, Brandon Walsh was way, way higher. And if you look at the bottom, the cholesterol HDL ratio, LDL HDL ratio, 3.1. That is very good. 3, that's about optimal. Hard to get much better than that. Perhaps 2, that's as good as you can get. At risk, maybe if the number was a 5, 6 or higher, I've seen bodybuilders abusing PDs above 30. He's 3.1, nearly perfect cholesterol. Somebody who's abusing PDs or even experimenting them in low doses, not likely to get such great results.
AST, SGOT. I have had elevated AST, SGOT levels since I was in my early 20s.
And notice it circled the AST. That's liver stress. Oh, he's probably on orals. 42 is so low. Anyone who's taken orals, SARMs or steroids, likely to have double that. 42 is low. 40 below optimal. He's 42. He's barely over the normal range. Couple drinks of alcohol, some Tylenol, anything could cause that to go higher. And so if he was taking Anavar, T-ball, SARMs, Ostrine, Rad140, LGD, all these things, I would fully expect to be double, perhaps triple. When I was on abusive doses of PDs, I was in the 120s. And even when I went off in my off season, it would still be in the 60s. Now I'm finally healthy. I'm off everything. I'm in the 30s. So 42, I don't think is bad. It doesn't have to worry.
Yes, Derek asked for the FSH, that is follicle stimulating hormone.
And his FSH 4.7, the middle of normal, if he was on testosterone, would probably suppress, he would have crashed FSH or LH levels. This does not look like he's taken anything whatsoever. No way would he have posted his blood work if he thought he had been taking something. He would have been too scared, would have hidden, said, oh, I'll take the test in a month to prove what's going on. Took the test right away, said, no, here it is.
1.5 to 12.4 minus 4.7. At least I am not a postmenopausal woman.
And so there you have it. Proofs in the pudding or in the blood work results. Ending it here. GregDoucette.com for coaching, Greg Doucette IB Pro. Please check out one of the videos. Also, you can check out Harder Than Last Time supplements, including the Testosterone, which is in fact natural if you want to build more muscle than last time while being natural. It's currently on WADA's watch list, but it's natural right now. It's not going to boost your test levels, but it could in fact help you build muscle. I'm taking it myself, experiencing great results. Also, the cookbooks, the training books, coaching plans by me and my team. Subscribe, click the bell button, comment for the algorithm, and until next time, I am out.